All good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
How do you want to kick it off?
Well, what I'll do, I think if we have something that we say at the start, so I'll just say, welcome to the CrossFit by Design podcast. This is episode 1. Good to see you, Brendan. How you going?
Oh yeah, cool. That's nice. I like that. Nothing massive.
Yeah.
Oh wait, was that it?
So to kick things off on this first episode, we just wanted to have a chat about nutrition. So I had some questions just to start with, asking you, and then really interested to get your thoughts on sort of your, mentality on nutrition and your approach to it. And I think this will be really beneficial for our members and anyone else who listens. So
yeah, man, I thought that too. I mean, there's only like 500,000 podcasts out there, so
yeah,
there's definitely room for one more.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So why do you think nutrition is important?
Yeah, man. Where do you even start? There's probably no other thing that's going to affect you as much as nutrition. Like if you went to your doctor and said, hey, how would you measure my health? Whatever metric they give you, so body fat, blood pressure, whatever, you name it. Nutrition is going to affect every single one of those. So even if you're not talking about, well, I don't want to be an athlete, or whatever your reason is for smashing down donuts every morning, it doesn't matter that you don't want to work out all the time. It's like, in order to be, a healthy person and live a long time, nutrition is pretty damn important. Yeah.
So how much does it actually affect body composition? So when we talk about nutrition being the key foundational aspect of CrossFit, and I think most programs that are involved in health and fitness have nutrition as the foundation, how much of it does it actually affect, my body? Man,
I would say nothing affects it more than nutrition. So I'm sure you've seen they're always on Instagram and Facebook and that, like, abs are made in the kitchen or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I saw one the other day which was awesome, like, where's this kitchen? I need to find this kitchen where abs are made. Yeah. But I mean, it's so true. Like, as silly as it sounds, it's absolutely true. Like, nothing's going to affect it more than nutrition. Okay. So we always talk about that too. Like, when you come in here and you start working out, that's awesome. Like, absolutely, like, we run a CrossFit gym. Do we believe in working out? Yeah. But this is an hour out of your day.
Yeah.
What are you doing for the other 23 hours in the day?
Yeah. It's not just what you're doing here in the gym.
Exactly.
It's
and not to get into sleep and all that other kind of stuff, but let's get into it a little bit actually. So if you think about mental state, performance, whether that be physical performance or going back to mental performance, your overall health, like they're all going to be affected by nutrition. So yeah.
And how much of that would you say actually is affected by nutrition? Because I think it's so easy to give excuses, right? And if people might say, oh, well, I guess nutrition affects it somewhat, but does it really affect it? And how much does it affect that?
I don't
if I smash a 12-pack of donuts, is it really going to make that much difference?
I just don't think it can be overstated, really. I think it's super important because there's such a flow-on effect as well, like how one affects the other. So let's talk, like, that's like the second time we brought up donuts. It's like, man, we are craving some donuts, but we're not. But it's an easy example. So let's come back to the donuts. There's such a flow-on effect. So let's say, okay, I eat the pack of donuts. It makes me feel really good for a short period of time. And we can talk about that later if you like. And then I feel a little bit crappy, mostly physically, but also mentally. So let's say I have those donuts for breakfast. I feel really, really good for a minute. I feel motivated. I'm up and about. I'm on my sugar high. And then I start to feel a little crappy. I start to feel, just sluggish. So then based on that feeling, I don't go to the gym. So I have no way of increasing my performance that day. And then because I didn't eat well in the morning and then I didn't go to the gym in the morning, what's the point in having a healthy lunch? And then there's just this massive flow-on effect, all caused by that bad nutrition choice you made the first time.
Yep.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
kind of went down the rabbit hole on that.
No, it's good.
It's going to affect you way more than you think. And I know there's always that you kind of that self-talk, you tell yourself like, it's just this
Yeah.
like one little thing, but it's never going to be that one little thing.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to remember that the more you have bad nutrition and the less you work out, and that balance between the two, the more the bad nutrition takes over, then it's this snowball effect of, okay, you have the donuts and then you don't work out. And okay, now that's going straight towards fat gain, and then that if you're not going to the gym because you don't feel motivated or you're feeling sluggish, and that's going to increase you or cause you to have worse nutrition, and then that kind of snowballs and snowballs and snowballs from there, and all of a sudden people sort of wonder why they're in the position they're at, and it sort of normally starts with that early decision. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, I know I have a lot of people asking me this question is, what's the kind of the least amount of information I need to know? Because I think people aren't all that interested in the finer details of nutrition, but they just want to know, okay, just tell me, what's the least amount of knowledge that I need to have about nutrition in order to, I guess, get my head around this?
Yeah, that's easy. Eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar.
Okay.
So, and you're absolutely right. Like, it's not the sexiest subject in the world. Like, not many people you're like, oh, you want to talk about nutrition? They're like, yeah, let's do this. Like, let's rap, man.
How does glucagon affect my metabolic pathways?
Yeah, and it's just like, what? Like, come on. But yeah, if you just stick with that, eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, and then that's your base. And there's a little bit more tacked onto the end of that. But as far as like a minimum, like the minimum knowledge that you want to have, I would say that's a great start. Okay,
so but what about, I guess, portion sizes and timing? I mean, as you mentioned Instagram a while ago, and on anything online, there's so much information saying, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, and this is the key, and that's the key. You thought that was the key, you were wrong. This is actually the key. How do you sort of sift through all that information?
Well, it's start with the basics. So any successful nutrition program aimed at health and longevity gets its roots in eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. So it's like, if we're talking basic, that's your platform, that's your base. And then from there, if you start to get a little bit more interested in it, because like we talked about before, you start to talk about the finer points of nutrition, people's eyes glaze over and they're like, whatever, bro, like, come on. So it's like, okay, well, let's start with this little one sentence, and then from there, you'll get results. Okay. Like weighing and measuring and all that sort of stuff, that definitely comes into it. But if you're coming from the donuts for breakfast and you want to make a change, that's your first step.
So I can just eat like 20 bananas a day and I'll be good?
Well,
that's right, don't answer that, that's right.
Well, see, then you can kind of get lost. Like, I mean, if you think about even that sentence, like eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. So it's some fruit, little starch, no sugar. So you're mostly vegetables. Eat meats and vegetables. Like that's your sort of but again, I don't want to get too deep into it. No, that's your start, man.
I think it's worth talking about. I think the thing that people most talk about when it comes to nutrition, because I think most people, when they start to actually practice with nutrition and start to investigate a clean diet, a healthy diet, and are on the path to optimum nutrition and just health and wellness in general, I think most of them people would realise that it's just difficult to eat clean, almost more so than it is to work out, because it's kind of easy to work out. You sort of go to the gym, you rock up, you work out. But eating clean all the time is, I know for most people, the biggest challenge there is. So why is it so hard to eat good food all the time? If it was this simple, it's okay, just eat meat and veg, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, and then just do that and you find, that's a piece of cake.
Problem solved.
But why don't many people do it?
Well, because it is hard. It's like any subject. Like, I mean, we're standing in the gym, so it's easy to talk about. But you just need to start with the basics and build your way up. So it's like, why are we expecting nutrition to be this easy subject when if I'm learning about Olympic lifting, or I'm learning another language, or I'm learning complicated maths equations, or whatever it is, you accept that it's going to be challenging and you need to start with the basics and work your way up and sift your way through all the crap before you sort of find the answer. Okay. So it's like, if you walked in here, to come back to the gym, if you walked in here and you've never done anything before, you certainly don't touch a barbell. Like, as we build our way through and then start to see how you move through space even just by yourself with no external objects, it's like the first external object we're going to add after we basically decide that you are moving well and we're happy with that is a stick. So it's like we need to start with the basics and build our way up, because it's like learning how to Olympic lift is very complicated. And nobody walks in here, well, some people might, but you shouldn't walk in here and expect to just snatch 100 kilos. Like most people accept.
Let's see this guy.
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, there's exceptions, but most people accept that it's a long path and it takes a lot of learning. And nutrition's just like that too. You know, clean eating takes work, and you need to just accept that. But that's not an excuse. For a lot of people, it's like, oh, there's so much information out there. Like, what's the point? It's like, well, you know, how important is your health to you? I think it's something worth studying. But again, how carried away you want to get is up to you. So do you want to snatch 100 kilos? If the answer is no, then it's like, well, I just want to be healthy and live for the longest time possible. It's like, well, maybe you don't need to geek out about it quite so much.
Okay.
And coming back to the gym analogy, and I'm glad you mentioned it because I wouldn't have thought of it. But when you come in here, you have a coach taking you through the movements, telling you what to do. Somebody who's been there, done that, is armed with the knowledge and has like so many people that they've coached to do what you want to do. They've done it before. He's gotten people to that point. So that's why it's important with nutrition. It's like, well, maybe the best idea isn't to go on Instagram and see what the latest, you know, booty blast, like, I don't know, the latest crazy nutrition plan is like, it's probably not going to come from Instagram. It's going to come from somebody who's been working with athletes for an extended period of time. Then their foundation is in a proven method of like eat some vegetables, like not to go over that again, but, and then have them teach you, like, just like any other subject, like most subjects, most people, you can't, it's very hard to just sit down and learn about something all by yourself.
So just to play devil's advocate here. So when we talked about the minimum that we need to know, and we talked about that, you know, meat and veg, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, and that being the very simple basics that we need to go on. If we know that's what we need to do, and we know, okay, it's just simple, you know, eat that. What is it actually that's restricting us from doing that? You know, when we wake up in the morning and people know that very simple information, they've agreed that that's what they need to do, and yet for whatever reason they just don't do it. What are some of the biggest keys there that makes it hard for them?
Well, there's no instant gratification to eating a healthy breakfast. And then I have to go, I was going to say I have to go get some donuts after this, but I definitely won't. But it's just that if you have a high sugar breakfast, you have that feedback mechanism in your brain to that, like, that this feels really good. Like if you have a calorie dense, high sugar food that's going to release a signal into your brain that triggers the reward system that says, hey, this is really good. And there's really no, in that moment, there's no immediate punishment for having that food. If you have a healthy breakfast, so that let's say there's immediate reward for having a bad food. When you have healthy food, there's really no immediate reward, especially when you first start. Like when you first start out, like later on down the track, you can actually, you know, once you get away from the sugar and you realize how good food can really be without that crap, you're good to go. But there's just no immediate consequence for eating badly. It's always that thing that can be, I'll start it tomorrow, I'll start it next week. And if you say that, you're never going to start it. It's like, dude, you need to just accept the fact that maybe you won't have the best plan when you first start out, but you need to have a plan. I think that's a really good point you made about the consequences aren't immediate. So, you know, if you have a bad meal, you know, just a one-off bad meal, it's not like straight away you look down and all of a sudden you've added 2 kilos onto your waistline. Exactly.
It's over the course of time. And I think on what you were mentioning before, I've heard someone say it really well, that it's not the piece of cake once off that is actually doing the damage. It's the decision that it leads to that is the damage. So in other words, me making a bad decision always makes the next decision the next bad decision easier to make. If I have a piece of cake now, it makes the next piece of cake that much easier to have.
Yeah, because I already had that other piece. So,
and so it just leads on from there. So,
No, I like
all right, sounds good. I think that's about it. Thanks for that, Brendan.
No, thank you.
No worries. See you next time.
Word.